Hi there, welcome to some exclusive coverage in the Noah Presgrove case. A new article has come about by people.com, who we're familiar with from the past, covering the wrongful death lawsuit, details given on top of key people speaking out with quotes provided, such as Caleb Newton of all people, Jack Newton's father. We'll see what he had to say with the recent developments, because he himself is caught up within it, classified as a defendant. So does he agree with where he's been placed and other partygoers too and his son, or is there a level of resistance? Any new, never seen before information? I'll be reading the article today, analysing it bit by bit, breaking it down and giving my thoughts when possible. And for everybody else watching, if you're here during the live premiere, welcome. Share your reactions live in the chat box on the right side of the screen, and your afterthoughts and any questions you may have down below in the comment section. If you are interested in additional coverage, the latest news updates on the case, you'll find the full playlist of my coverage, top right corner where the I symbol is, with the playlist, and some additional videos as well. For example, I uploaded one earlier today where we looked at it from what Noah Presgrove's family attorneys have had to say amidst the wrongful death lawsuit, what they believe in, what will happen next, the next step, and roughly a date revealed as to when the discovery process occurs, which is a really important part in gathering additional evidence. To find all of that, top right corner where the I symbol is. But right now, we need to focus in on the case. I do want to say big shout out to everyone that has watched in recent time and come back to gain that traction, to keep things going. And whilst I try and keep the case alive when possible, there's been a lot of breaking news and a lot of article coverage, and we're looking at it bit by bit and seeing what has been added, any never seen before information and whatnot. If you are interested and want to support my channel, just as a little heads up, in the comment section pinned message, there will be a PayPal link. With that being said, the order of how we'll do things today, we're jumping straight into the article, analyse it, go from there. Whether there's a map analysis needed or not, we'll see. The title of the article reads, Teen's friends allegedly beat him to death at party. Family says in explosive Hail Mary lawsuit. Now, the actual lawsuit and the details provided, were they literally written up directly from the family's mouth, words, hands? Or was the family saying what they believe, what they think, passed on to those that writing up the lawsuit? How much of a pivotal role, how hands-on were the family in that lawsuit when it comes to the details? Because, not to reveal too much from the earlier video, when it came to the attorneys with Noah Presgrove's family and Noah's case, they said they've gathered evidence already. What type of evidence is that? And does it link on with the lawsuit details? Because the lawsuit details what allegedly happened, what supposedly happened. Well, if it's what supposedly happened, it's not with absolute certainty or confidence. And if you claim that you've got evidence, then maybe that evidence doesn't support it, because if it did support it, it would go from allegedly and maybe be upgraded to a more confident term. Got to break it down bit by bit. Hail Mary lawsuit. Really explosive, hard-hitting. But could any of this have been done earlier on in the case? And what we see in some of the details of the lawsuit, there seems to be a handful of people that were thinking that early on in the case. So is it really Hail Mary, shocking, groundbreaking? Yeah. The little quote below, I haven't been able to find one thing in the lawsuit that has any truth to it, one of the defendants says. But who? Who says that? Well, if you stick around long enough in this video, you will find out. But let's just get to it. In a new lawsuit. Now, when they say a new lawsuit, what, in regard to the Presgrove case, what was the original lawsuit then? It depends how you interpret the wording. Noah Presgrove's family is claiming. We're going to make that very clear. See, some of the general public will obviously jump, skip, cry, and, with happiness on their face and think, this is it. We're on the right pathway, right direction. But some of Noah Presgrove's family members were already thinking there's a form of foul play and that earlier days, maybe not all saw eye to eye, because there was a point where Robin Smith went from, I don't know which way round it was, in what order, at one point thinking, it's cold-blooded, people are hiding stuff, partygoers are responsible. And then another time Robin was like, you know what, these partygoers could never do anything like that to Noah. You know, they're all good people. So opinions, outlooks can change with time and might have reached a greater consensus now amongst different family members. But always remember, it's what Noah's family is claiming to have happened, not what actually absolutely happened. But it could become that with down the line with evidence gathered. But at this moment, it's still uncertain. So action is being taken, which is good, and that can start movement. And if it goes in the right direction, it can lead to more answers and maybe backed up with the claims here. So Noah was supposedly beaten to death by more than one of his friends. Now, was it best friend or just friends? And it was shortly before his naked body was found by the highway, the 81. On the hard shoulder, Noah Presgrove sustained fatal blunt force injuries, though it's still not clear how he was also drunk. Wait, what? It's not clear how Noah was also drunk. So you don't know how Noah got drunk at a party? Oh, well, let's guess. Noah Presgrove at a party around other people similar to his age, alcohol present, offered it, or up for grabs, free for all. Oh, just grab a can, grab a beer, whatever, insert into mouth, consume, swallow liquid, and repeat. After a few, oh, a little bit tipsy, bit more, oh, drunk. Are they being serious here? They don't know how he was also drunk. Well, drunk as in, how did he put this alcohol in his mouth? That is just, Anyway, in quotes, I don't think anyone expects their 19-year-old to ever go to a party and die, the family's attorney says. Well, yeah. Is it me, or is these like really obvious quotes and words coming out? Besides that, in an explosive new lawsuit filed 2 years after his death, a new lawsuit within the Noah Presgrove case. So what was the original lawsuit? Does anyone know? Because I don't remember hearing or seeing it. It couldn't have been the social hosting petition thing, because that was just a petition and that was all at the time. What else was filed? Does anyone know? You know, in the comment section, in the live chat, type it right now. Noah Presgrove's family is claiming that he was beaten to death by some of his friends during a party weekend, shortly before a 19-year-old naked body was found on the side of the highway. The allegation made in a wrongful death suit filed on Monday recently, June 23rd, goes far beyond any determination by law enforcement. State police have said they don't believe Noah was murdered, but haven't commented on what led to his death on September 4th, 2023. The autopsy also claims unknown the death, and is the most direct claim yet about who could be responsible. The suit seeks at least $75,000 in damages. It does not provide evidence to support its accusations. The attorney representing Noah's family insists they have more information than they can share at this stage, though. Interesting. They have more information, but they can't really share? Well, what could that information be? How groundbreaking is it? Does Noah's family at least know of that information? Does it have anything to do with a Jane or John Doe that's not been disclosed of, unknown within the court documents of the wrongful death lawsuit? I wonder. Oklahoma State Police say they continue to investigate but decline to provide an update in light of the new suit. Actually, saying that, they're withholding because of this new thing coming up, so best lay low. Well, if this new suit never showed up, would Oklahoma State Police have spoken up? Because they've been very quiet for some time now. No one has been arrested or charged in the case at this moment, which has stoked widespread discussion on social media. No doubt, yeah. And those named in the complaint deny wrongdoing. Is that so? Have we seen them deny it? Or are we about to? The teen's body, Noah, was found on the side of the road hours after he disappeared from a multi-day party with friends for Labour Day, people previously reported. But it wasn't just for Labour Day, was it? It was also because it was Avery's birthday party, which occurred more so on the Monday, I believe. So he had invites to come on down for that too. Noah had sustained fatal blunt force injuries on his skull, his spine, but it's still not clear how he was also drunk. It's not clear how he was also drunk because he was drinking alcohol. He was drunk just before he possibly walked away and then died. And, blood can stay in your system for a bit after that, so... His undamaged clothes were found not far from his body. Well, that's kind of incorrect, because what clothing was found not far from his body? Pair of shorts. That was it. What about Noah's shirt? Was it there? No. What about Noah's hat? Was it there? No. What about Noah's sunglasses? Were they there? No. What about Noah's wallet? Was it there? Was it returned? No. What about Noah's shoe? Condition of that? Kind of unknown of. Was it returned back though? Who knows? So the shorts that were in the middle of the road as it's been described, just laid out as they were, how they landed, let's just put it that way. Kind of odd. Were they his? No, it wasn't even his clothing. They were supposedly Jack's, Noah's best friend, borrowing them. In another article, it described as basketball shorts, but they were actually white wrestling shorts. No observable damage, but there could have been stains, skid marks, tyre marks, and other bits and bobs in between, a bit of dirt. Not that it was really clear or highlighted, like in the autopsy. But really, with the exception of a shoe, there wasn't much of Noah's clothing near to his body or on him. So I've got to be specific there. The new suit accuses 7 defendants as well as numerous other unnamed individuals and a convenience store, Val Petrol, the Napoli's in Marlow, Oklahoma. The suit claims provided alcohol for the party, some of whom were underage. Some. Okay, so we're kind of downplaying it now. Only some partygoers were underage. So what? Are we saying a little bit like the majority or a little bit over are of the correct age to be drinking? I mean, how many people were underage for the legal age of drinking? It seems like there was more underage than those of the correct age. So why is it being played down here as in some? Is it not most? Could be wrong. But what I find interesting, 7 defendants. Let's just name them now on the spot if it doesn't below. So you got Stevie Howard, you got Will Coxon, you got Caleb, you got Jack, Logan, Carter, Avery, and I guess the convenience store? Did I miss out any names? I mean, as for the Avery, if I didn't mention that, you got John and Jane Doe's. More than one, male or female, or both. Now, it's worded here as numerous other unnamed individuals. So more than one, but how many exactly? 2, 3, 4, 5? Everyone? Who else could it be? People say, well, Caleb's not on there. No. People say Caden Pressey is not on there. And Alicia. Because people like to make a big thing about that. People have mentioned, I've mentioned Jasmine, Stephanie hasn't been included, and so on. But could any of those named individuals be classified as the John, Jane Doe? And these numerous unnamed individuals, why are they unnamed? Have they not been interviewed yet? Have they not been taken in any way? Why are they unnamed? Does anyone know? Continuing on. Noah's death was not caused by being hit by a motor vehicle, as we've heard. He was beat to death by one or more defendants, the suit alleges, going on to claim that 2 or more defendants engaged in a civil conspiracy to beat Noah. Either intentionally or accidentally, the defendants killed Noah, the suit argues. And there's an older photo of Noah Presgrove there. And here we go. The defendants include Avery Jo Howard, also known as Avery Jo Combs, Carter Combs' sister, Jack Newton, boyfriend to Carter, Caleb Newton, father to Jack, Joni Trout Wilcoxon Jr., father to Stevie Howard, Stevie Howard's name there, the mother to Avery and Carter, Logan Jernigan, a friend, as well as Val Patrol, the convenience store operator. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 for Val Patrol. Okay, so I did count correctly. Avery, Carter, and Logan threw the party Noah attended on Joni's property in a home owned by Stevie, according to the suit. The party in a house owned by Stevie, yet the suit worded it as Stevie owned a trailer nearby to where the party took place, depending which way round you read it. Whatever, it is what it is. Avery, Carter, and Logan at the time were living there as well as hosting, so it makes sense. Now, okay, Avery did a public invite online. Anyone could come on down. Pretty reckless, isn't it? If you say anyone can come, good people, bad people, any age range too, you're kind of welcoming yourself for social hosting to be broken and get in trouble. Why do you do that to yourself? Because you're not thinking at the time. You're not thinking of the consequences. You just want to have a good time and you want other people to and be welcome. So short-term aspect, you're not going to think. Long-term, going to bite you in the backside, which is unfortunate. But, what involvement did Logan and Carter play? Besides any alcohol, did Carter Logan advertise it online, do any snaps, invite any people individually? Was there a guest list, anything like that? I wonder. Jack Newton, Noah's best friend, was also at the party. He has told People.com the suit alleges he bought alcohol for Noah whilst underage. Now, Jack Newton has spoken out on the People article in the past, and as well in the past, there was an article dedicated to Avery Jo Combs, Avery Howard. Thing is, when reading through that article with Avery, the birthday girl, it was mainly Jack Newton doing all the talking. So I don't know what was the point of the title or the theme of Avery when it was mainly all about Jack. So, yeah. What day was Jack Newton at the party? Did he get there on a Friday or what? See, okay, Caden Pressey has said in the police interview he was there Friday, but in Parts in True Crime he says he was there Saturday. Who knows? It seems widely agreed upon a consensus that Noah attended the party on Saturday and then onwards. But how many of the party goers attended on the Friday? You don't count Avery, Carter, or Logan because they'll be living there at the time. The possibility that Jack could have got down there early on the Friday to hang out with them, to hang out with his girlfriend, have a good time, get things going, help out, maybe. You let me know what you think. Maybe guess, suggest in the chat right now the names of partygoers that were there or could have been there on the Friday. Because it is a timeline from start to finish. It's important because there is a process to it. Then it goes on to say, Caleb, Jack's father, is also accused of providing an all-terrain vehicle that Noah rode on and wrecked during the party, which Caleb denies. Caleb denies providing a vehicle for Noah. I mean, considering that we've not seen any hard evidence, and Caden Pressey of all people also agrees 100% that Caleb Newton was never at the party, how could Caleb provide Noah a vehicle if Caleb wasn't physically there to hand it over? And from the looks of it, the all-terrain vehicle, the side-by-side, is owned by Jack Newton and not Caleb. So why would the responsibility fall on Caleb if Jack's the one in ownership of it? Weird. And to be honest, how it's worded here, providing a vehicle for Noah to ride on, sounds different to how it was worded in the documents, as in Caleb allowed You know, there's a difference between allowing someone to ride a vehicle and providing someone to ride a vehicle. You could provide a vehicle at a party, at an event, but you might not choose or specifically say whether it can be used by this person or that person. Allowing someone is very specific, and that's how it was worded in one way or another in the documents, making it sound like Caleb had to have been physically there in order to say, yeah, you, Noah, can ride it. You might be drunk, but you can ride it. Doesn't matter. Responsibility falls back on you. You're the responsible adult. You're the sober one, supposedly, and you're allowing an underage person of drinking age who's already drunk to be able to drive it. It's a recipe for disaster. But we've not seen any evidence that Caleb's there. So the next thing that I tried guessing or suggesting was maybe Caleb owned the vehicle, passed it on to Jack, the responsibilities interchanging, ultimately still falling back on the person that owns the vehicle. The papers in the name of the vehicle belong to Caleb, but people have said countlessly that it's Jack's side by side, and it's Jack's, but then instead of blaming Caleb for providing an all-terrain vehicle, then maybe the wording could be changed to Jack was providing an all-terrain vehicle at the party which Noah used. Now, keys supposedly hung up in a bedroom, probably Carter's, whilst Jack was sleeping with Carter, and Noah supposedly walked in to grab the keys. If Jack is asleep, what can Jack do about it? But then again, you got Carter Combs, who was awake and let it happen. So why they're not shifting the blame here or in the document suit and say, well, based on these supposed events, then Carter's to blame. Unless it's because it's not been backed up with hard evidence yet and they're only sticking to the absolute facts. But, you know, and I want everyone to listen right now. That's like what Michael Fazekaz suggested recently. But my response back to that and to Michael Fazekaz is, if it's just based on hard evidence and certainty, even if it's the minority in detail provided and focus, that how come in the documents they're stating that Noah Presgrove walked away from the party around 3:41, when 3:41 specifically is only known by the timestamp of the Snapchat post by Jasmine Millan at 3:41 announcing Noah's already missing. So it would mean it would be before 3:41. And it has been talked about, not with hard evidence, but just been talked about collectively, that it was 3:30. There's no hard evidence to say Noah walked away at 3:41. It's just evidence to suggest that he was already missing by that time. So for the documents to state it as a fact, based on that, it's two separate things. So they shouldn't be linking it. So Michael Fazekaz, they're not really using evidence properly in the documents, are they not? It's an issue. I hope people pick up on that in the chat right now. We do have a quote here, and I'm wondering if it's what Caleb says. I mean, Caleb says it a bit below, but I guess he's also saying it on top as well. Caleb denies and says, I haven't been able to find one thing in the lawsuit that has any truth to it. He tells people, as in Caleb, I don't know where this information is coming from. Everybody is all saying, finally progress, says Caleb, 41 years of age, adding, it's a huge waste of everybody's time and emotions. That sounds rather cold, and some people could interpret it as, oh, it's very dark and evil. I think we'll need to go back over that shortly, or maybe we could do it whilst we're here on the spot and then I'll add on later. You let me know right now in the chat or the comments, are you shocked by this? It's only Caleb speaking here, but he's had a few words to say. Last time I heard Caleb speak or type in text was when he did that Facebook statement. And if you remember, when I did coverage on that video on YouTube was reported falsely and taken down, even though I did nothing wrong. So I wonder what that's all about. Weird, isn't it? It's just, Caleb can only say so much, because if he wasn't at the party, he wouldn't have known what truly went down at the party, right? So I haven't been able to find one thing in the lawsuit that has any truth to it. Really? So no detail in the lawsuit is true. So is Caleb basically saying that when it mentions the fact of 5:43 is when Noah's body was to be found and reported into police by Tyler Hoodman, first on site, on scene, or passing on by to make the call into police, the first official call made to dispatch? Is Caleb saying that specific detail in the lawsuit isn't true. I think what Caleb is specifically going on about is the defendants, what they've been accused of, the liabilities, the responsibilities, and how they link to the alcohol problems, or how they link to the drunk driving issues, how they link to Noah's vulnerabilities, how they link to Noah's supposed beatdown. That's what Caleb's more so referring to. But, there is some truths in regard to some details within the document. But whilst there might be some truths and people can be blamed, there's other people out there that could be blamed, but they're not included in the document. So you could say it's a little bit one-sided, I guess. There could be other people that could be brought into it. I don't know where this information is coming from. Well, Caleb could say that, I don't know where it's coming from, but Caleb, do you even know what was going on at the party if you weren't even there? So, got to give and take to an extent. But by saying everybody is saying finally progress, I guess Caleb has been looking online on Facebook, seeing the people react positively, like, this is what we needed, big change, big difference, movement forwards. Is it finally progress? After everything that's gone on in the case, or how quiet it's been, I would say it is considered as progress in the right direction or the wrong direction. That's unknown of at this moment. But there is some kind of movement, some kind of legal action, some kind of actual direction, some directive by the family collectively from the looks of it on the surface level. It's not something I've seen or heard before in this case. It's been very quiet, so this does speak volume and stand out. But in terms of maybe how the documents were written up, how much truth is it? Okay, it's been alleged, details of this have been alleged, and that's been alleged, and Caleb can respond back with saying, I don't see any truth within it all. Well, it shouldn't be the absolute end of the world then. If you've got nothing to hide, yes, you're on the receiving end, you could be falsely accused of stuff, it could damage your reputation and harm you, a little bit slanderous, who knows. But you got nothing to hide and you're innocent, just to try and maintain a level of coolness, try and maintain a level of understanding externally, because if you don't, you dig yourself into a hole. So Caleb's reaction here is only going to feed into and intensify the suspicions that the general public have on the likes of Caleb and Jack, etc., by reacting in such a cold way, reacting in a slightly anti-type negative way, whilst other people are celebrating and trying to be positive in the case when there's not been much to be positive about. And it seems like, oh, finally now. And Caleb's like putting a downer on it. But, you can't expect too much from Caleb, because Caleb is tied up within this lawsuit, is classified as a defendant. So whilst being caught up within it and the negativity around it and the labels, you can't really be positive yourself. You could be positive towards Noah and that, yes, there is progression moving forwards, but I'm caught up within it, so how am I supposed to be positive about that? You got to understand it from both sides. To say it's a huge waste of everybody's time and emotions, you could say that's a little bit cold. What else is supposed to happen? That this wrongful death lawsuit should just be scrapped? And then what? What ideas, suggestions does Caleb have in terms of moving forwards, in terms of getting justice then? What else can be done? Okay, let's just say it's a waste of time and a waste of some emotions. Does this wrongful death lawsuit lead to any negative health issues? Does it lead to any negative psychological issues? If it doesn't, then it might as well go ahead. Does this wrongful death lawsuit cause any damage to defendants? Any damage to character, any damage to business, to reputation, and so on down the line? Because if it did, and these people ended up being proven or seen as innocent, could they file a counter, what would you call it? I'm not an expert. A counter sue, a counter lawsuit to say, I've been wrongfully accused of this or that, or suggested, I've been dragged through the mud, and I've lost things along the way, and whatnot. I guess time will tell. But just to dismiss it as waste of time, waste of emotions, no point doing it. Well, you're just supposed to do nothing then. Questionable. But looks like we've got a bit more here though. Caleb also disputed the allegation that Jack provided alcohol for Noah specifically at the party. Is that so? Caleb says, I have no doubt that Jack, my son, got his hands on his beer. I have no doubt that he got his hands on his beer. As in, Jack has his own beer, kept his hand on it, and no one else. I mean, I asked him, I said, son, who bought the alcohol for this party? And he said, Jack said, it's just like every other time that I got together with any of my friends, everybody brought what they wanted to drink, brought their own stuff. Caleb says, nobody supplied for the whole deal or anything goofy like that. So what, we're kind of dispersing all responsibilities, as in everybody can come, everybody brings their own drinks, and what, sticks to their own drinks or spreads them about, shares with one another. Right, so are we saying, did Jack, his beer, his own alcohol, did he buy it for himself? And is it still true, though, that he did go to Marlow, Oklahoma, which is nearly 20 miles away from where he lived at the time, in the opposite direction to where he was going to the party? Why did you go out of your way, cover that distance just to get some alcohol specifically from Marlow at the Napoli convenience store, when you could have done it where you lived at the time, or on the way down, maybe passed through Duncan or Comanche, or further down closer to the party, Ryan, or even the mini mart of Terrell? Why did Jack Newton specifically go to the Marlow convenience store, Napoli's? Is it because it's more lenient over there? Because you can get away with it? Because they turn a blind eye, they don't ask for identification ID, but other places do, so you go to the easiest place? Is it because the prices are a little bit better, more competitive? I wonder. I mean, me personally, I've never really heard, from my memory, Jack Newton ever say what's mentioned here. I've heard it talked about loosely in the community online amongst different people, some from the dark side, saying, well, Noah Presgrove turned up anyway, drunk. So did Brealey and Georgia. Now, if that is true, does it link back to what Jack is supposedly saying here to his father, that everybody would bring their own alcohol? Now, when it came to Caden Pressey saying in the past, when he met with the girls, the party girls, but in the past, and with the guys meeting in car parking lots and drinking together, did they bring their own alcohol then? I wonder. The parties which Caden Pressey attended in the past with Noah, in which Noah would walk away when drunk, as Caden observed, alcohol was present there. But is it in line with what Jack says? Everyone brings their own drinks. It makes sense, I get that. But then, how do these different people get a hold of the alcohol to come on down to the party house? Because if it's more than one party goer getting a hold and obtaining alcohol, and the underage too, then doesn't it raise more concerns and awareness and issues on a bigger scale, a bigger problem that, yeah, these party goers could be reckless, but it's the possible convenience stores, the shops that sell the alcohol, that are allowing these underage people to just casually walk in, get the alcohol without any question, without any ID, and then just walk out. I know there might be some exceptions where someone could try and fake an ID. There might be other exceptions where certain partygoers may be allowed by their parents to take alcohol to a party, which, to be honest, that could raise some eyebrows over there with certain family members or guardians, parents of parents, right? That's another issue. Or maybe certain partygoers, if it's true what Jack says, could have stolen alcohol, could have sneaked alcohol out from the house belonging to the parents, family, whatever, and gone on down to the party. And, it's interesting. I've not really seen it mentioned before or worded like this, only come about now. Why was it not mentioned earlier or made clearer earlier? Anyone in the chat, you let me know what you think about it. And we'll read it out in just a second again. Let's have a bit of water myself. Caleb says, I asked Jack, and I said, son, who bought the alcohol for this party? And all we've ever heard it worded as was party host, birthday girl, supplying, providing alcohol, and that's it. No acknowledgement of anyone else, all focused in on party host, party girl. And yet Jack said, like any other time that I got together with my friends, everybody brought what they wanted to drink. Everybody brought their own alcohol. Is that Sam? Have other partygoers said that too? Has Caden Pressey ever acknowledged that? No. Not heard that. Would have been interesting if he did. Jack did not respond to a request for comment through his father. Well, that's unfortunate, isn't it? Jack may have been more vocal in the early days, but no longer. That's a shame. The accusation of widespread drinking is central to the suit's claims of a conspiracy to get Noah and other underage attendees drunk, even though they owed a specific duty of care and failed to prevent harm to him, including by allowing dangerous illegal conduct on the property. What, drunk driving? What about the being a passenger drunk and the others driving? The Ford Ranger and shooting animals. I guess that's another one. But to get Noah and others drunk, to get, as in there is an aim and a purpose to get these underage people, slightly vulnerable, drunk. For what reason? For what gain exactly? To make Noah drunk so he's more vulnerable, so it's easier to kill him? Is that what it means? Or just to get them drunk for the sake of it? Why do these people need to get others drunk when the others can get themselves drunk if they're there for the main reason of alcohol? Why do they need assistance in being fed alcohol? It's a bit weird. In quotes, the adults there and the kids shouldn't have allowed it to get to any position where Noah was ever going to be at risk of dying, says attorney Austin Vance. Wait, the adults had a responsibility and the kids shouldn't have allowed it to get to any position. That's a bit of a contradiction. The whole point of safeguarding and having a responsibility is the actual adults are looking out for the kids, for the minors, for the underage drinkers. But how it's worded here in the quote says the adults have the same responsibility as the kids to not allow others to get drunk or be in a harmful position. What? They just contradicted themselves there. That's a bit dodgy. Anyway, who filed a suit? Austin Vance filed the suit on behalf of Noah's family and the estate. So we've got a bit more clarity there. And he says, I don't think anyone expects their 19-year-old to ever go to a party and die. We've got a little map there, as we've seen before. Nicely labelled in a way, September 4th, 3:30 a.m. Noah leaves party and vanishes. Oh, really? So, like news articles, visual aspect, it's been acknowledged officially as well that Noah left at 3:30. What I would like to ask, and I've not seen a bloody answer yet, where is the hard evidence? Where's the screenshot? Where's a phone screenshot? Where's a photo? Where's a snap? Where's any hard evidence to say it's 3:30 when Noah had left the party house? It seems to be universally agreed upon, but where is the hard evidence to say that that's the time of when Noah left the party? It's interesting. And like with what Michael Facecaz was saying, Cal, well, when it comes to the court documents and whatnot, they're going to stick to the facts and the certainties, and then all the other details and talk and hearsay, maybe included down the line, maybe if it's backed up, roughly worded like that. So why does the court document state almost as a fact that Noah had walked away by or around 3:41 when this particular article incorporated with the whole wrongful death lawsuit attached together, this visual is being classified as 3:30 when Noah left, what we're all familiar with. So the documents are saying 3:41 is when Noah left, and everyone else and all the news articles are saying 3:30. So we can't even get that right. We've got discrepancies there. So it's not all Caden Pressey at the end of the day, is it? How incompetent. But then we've got the consistency of 5:43. 911 callers spot Noah along the road. Well, a caller at 5:43, because at 5:46, the second caller attempted to call, it was static. Made the next call 5:53. First caller at 5:43 was Tyler Hudman. 5:53 was Tyler Hardy. Okay? And then at 6:15 a.m, the probe begins. And I think it's around 6:18 when, is it Jimmy Williams, undersheriff, that shows up. Supposedly you've got Cash Alsop there too. Vance, executive director at the law firm All Rise, says, "It seems clear to me that somebody laid hands on Noah and that caused his death. But is there any touch-based evidence on Noah's body to support that? At this moment, no." Efforts to reach the other defendants in the suit for comment were not successful. Why is that? Is it because they didn't want to speak? Were they not reachable? I wonder. But attorney Andrew Benedict, representing the extended Wilcoxon family, including Avery Jo Howard, told People in a statement last year that they were mourning the tragic death of Noah Presgrove. Right. In quotes, the Wilcoxon family has cooperated with the investigating law enforcement agencies completely and intends to continue such cooperation until the investigation is concluded, Benedict said then. As in back then. Has it changed since? He did not comment to People this week on the new suit. Not commenting because there's not much you can say, because in the shit, or not the right time to talk, got to gather together, have a team talk, and they keep saying a new suit. What was the original suit? I don't remember the original one, the first. Does anyone? Representatives for the convenience store that is also named as a defendant did not respond to a request for comment. Court records show none of the defendants have filed responses to the complaint. I wonder why. Dalen Presgrove, Noah's big brother, Dalen Keith Presgrove, tells People the family suit is not about money. Right. Is this Dalen back here saying the defendants, it's their opportunity to defend themselves and prove their innocence, Dalen says. Okay, that's fair and balanced. It's a time for these people to prove that they're innocent. So you yourself don't know with absolute confidence or certainty that they are truly guilty. It's just like, we'll just pick and choose, cherry pick the people that could be dodgy and then let them fight it out and prove their innocence. Maybe in their eyes or in general, it's just the only way to get answers, get something, filter process. Some could be guilty, others may not. Some may be innocent but caught up within it all, get a bad reputation from this, labelled as this and that, which isn't the case. And then what, has it long-lasting effects later? It was George Choden, I think, and some other people in the live chat recently on YouTube that suggested that, I don't know about Madison Rawlings, but Dalen Presgrove showed what, an uncertainty, as in some of the names or most of the names on the defendant list shouldn't have been on it in the first place or something. Does that link back to what's mentioned here, that it's their opportunity to defend themselves and prove their innocence, Dalen says, as in, I don't really know, but we'll find out. Dalen also says, the way I've looked at it is that this is kind of the final point. He continues, we've exhausted every avenue. We've done everything that we can. And so this is really the last big Hail Mary to seek that retribution, seek that truth, so that we can put everything to bed. So if it's the last ditch attempt in trying to get help, to try and get the justice that's needed and deserved, you've used all other attempts of trying to get that help, that now it's a final call. There could be a level of desperation now. Any recklessness, fam? You can understand the struggles. How are the defendants going to react? Are they going to talk when it comes to the discovery process? Any interviews in between? Are they going to remain consistent to how they did previously? Are they going to stick together like a pact? And if they do, then what happens then? What honestly happens then? Dalen, 25, bloody hell, Dalen, the same age as me, also notes that as a new father himself, he soon intends to withdraw from the legal proceedings. In quotes, it was just a lot of stress and a lot of attention that we just didn't want. stress, attention. Now, to look at it from both sides, I wonder, will there be any levels of stress or attention in negative ways for the defendants who could be innocent, or some who could? What effects is it going to have on everyone down the line? Caleb Newton is taking another view. He describes himself as disappointed at the complaint. In quotes, "We're all just sitting on our hands hoping for the next piece of information or for anything to happen, and a civil lawsuit is the opposite of progression," he says. Quite an interesting response from Caleb, more so, being more vocal, but also doing the talking on behalf of Jack, because Jack doesn't want to speak himself or be properly interviewed. Who knows what will come next if any more people speak or the family say anything else. I mean, there was another article somewhere or a news clip where Ashley Chadwick, the cousin, was talking a little bit, but then two other cousins of Noah was speaking as well. Maybe I'll try and find those clips, and if they're of value or worth, I could include it in one of my future videos upcoming, or just look at the transcripts for the words themselves. It's probably better to look at the transcripts, like what I normally do. I tend to do it just to be safe from copyright and all that, but when you see it word for word, you can visualize it myself. You can as well. And the wording of what Jack Newton says, whether it's truth or not, if it was more so not the truth, but it was being used as the truth, it's like a tactic which humans like to do in life. And I'm not saying it is the case here, but if it was, it could link to the typical playing down. Well, everybody does it. Well, everybody brings alcohol. Let's move and shift the focus away from the party host, and let's shift it equally upon responsibilities, where everyone's responsible for Noah's death indirectly. Like with the argument past midnight, early Sunday morning, supposedly when it happened, between Noah yelling at Jack, from what Caden says in regard to the details, because best friend Jack was flirting behind the back of Noah with Noah's girlfriend around the time or just before the party, and Noah wasn't too pleased with that. But how Jack talked about the argument was, it was just girl trouble in general, and we both made up after. We cried, we hugged, and it was okay. Well, Noah's not here to tell that side if it was the same or if it was more one-sided. How Jack worded it was spreading the responsibility, sharing it equal responsibilities. Both played a role in the argument, both kind of apologized. And that's the thing. There'll be times in life where humans will try and twist it or make something of nothing and then pin the blame onto you. I mean, I myself, with time, have been blamed and forced to apologize. Apologize for what? Because 99.9% of the time, do I need to apologize? Not exactly, because there's not even enough time to F up, because it tends to be the other person that does so first. That's just a fact and an observation based on what I have come across and what I may down the line and in the future. But I do find it very interesting when people like to pin the blame and demand and expect an apology. And when they do that, and like with what I've come across, they are in absolutely no position to be doing that whatsoever, when they themselves have messed up badly and more than once. Complete and utter cancerous hypocrites. And I'm not talking about the case, I'm talking in general. Now, in regard to the case of trying to pin the blame elsewhere or to equally distribute the blame and responsibilities, that can be a psychological tactic. Not that it's done with absolute intent, but you could interpret it that way, right? I'm just giving these suggestions, the way people, how they react and whatnot in the case. And Jack already playing it down, you could argue when it came to the argument with Noah, as in, well, we both apologized, as if it was like we were both to blame for it. But, if it really was true, if that best friend Jack was flirting behind Noah's back with Noah's girlfriend, betrayal, stabbed in the back, Noah had every right to give him a piece of his own mind and say, hey, what the hell are you doing? So only one party from that side should be apologising in the moment then. But when the one who's in the wrong or has already done wrong, they're more likely to expect an apology from the other person. It's very manipulative behaviour, and I've come across it too. It's embarrassing, it's pathetic. But does it apply absolutely in this case? At this moment in time, it's just for discussion and suggestion only. And you can let me know what you think down below. You let me know if there's any other partygoers, any other people in the case that have tried equally distributing the blame or the focus, shifting attention elsewhere, misdirection, and whatnot. For Caleb to say, I'm actually disappointed in this civil lawsuit, that it's actually the opposite of progression being made. Why? Does Caleb think it's going backwards? How so? What negatives will be caused? Because what more does Noah's family have to lose? They've exhausted all their other options, supposedly. What else can they do? What else is left to do? Maybe this, and only this. As for the supposed innocent ones, but are classified as defendants in this lawsuit, I can understand they're not going to feel positive or happy about what's going on there. I think in the background there's some other, I don't know if it's a lawsuit or a protective order, possibly filed by Justin Roy towards Brooke Bounds Carter within the case, but not like directly in the case. It's just like members of the community, those that have known of Noah Presgrove to some extent, but don't see eye to eye together because they're at heads with one another and it's back and forth and messy. That's background stuff, call it drama, whatever, online, whatever. But it shows in parallel, familiar names and whatnot. There's legal action being taken, being followed upon. It's getting messy. And when it gets messy, is it still going to run in line for justice for Noah? Could things be lost along the way? How bad could it really get? This discovery process which comes up, which the date was revealed roughly in the earlier video, check that out. Will that lead to any more progression? Even though Caleb says it's not going to go anywhere, it's a waste of time and emotion, and it's the opposite of progression. Well, where else can it really go? What else can be done? Now, in terms of civil lawsuit, when I briefly looked at a definition online, it was specifically focusing on to like the different parties of people disagreements and seeking a form of compensation money, where it's mainly focused on there. And yes, part of it does entail with this wrongful death lawsuit because of the $75,000 needed or wanted or deserving of for Noah and the estate because of the funeral cost expenses, what the family have gone through, any suffering for the descendant Noah Presgrove, which would imply, based on that, what Noah Presgrove suffered and died slow or died in pain. But how would you know? So it's weird how it was worded in the documents there. But not to sound negative, if it is only $75,000 in compensation, when people are labelled as having deep pockets, if 7 defendants all got together and had to cough up $75,000, what, each or just in total, I think, I don't want to say it from my mouth, but from what others have said about deep pockets and stuff, 75,000 may be just easy, right, there you go, that's it, done. Dalen says it's not about the money. Okay, but is anyone for or about the money? And if not, then why was it included? Does a figure, a number have to be included if it is a civil lawsuit? But, you know, time will tell as to how it goes in the case, whether there's any progression, truly, or it goes backwards. But can it really go backwards? Hasn't it already? When it's come to trying to learn about Caden Press's timeline and the discrepancies there and Alicia lying. And people could say, oh, we're still going on about that. Yes, because it's not really been resolved and it's not been cleared up enough. And for innocent people to act that way, it's just weird. Why? Why do certain innocent people act so unusual? But then again, does reality actually make sense? Because in my own experience, I see more darkness in the light than I do with the abyss. I'm talking about humans in life. At times I've come across more darkness and treated in darker ways by positive, good people than I have with darkness. The dark side, not of the case, but in life, the dark side of humans that may be misunderstood. And, you know, it's like you can come across some people visually that might look like a nerd, or visually they might look okay, they might look nice, they might look good, but yet they're a complete monster inside and behind locked doors. If you're unlucky enough and on the receiving end, you may see it and feel it firsthand and etc. But will anyone believe you? Outside of the walls. And then other times you can come across people that look like pure psychopaths. You can come across people that look like pure, cold-blooded subhumans. And yet inside, they could be the softest, kindest, most understanding, patient people out there. They've just never been given a chance. So, based on those warped realities, you probably could tie it in with this case and community. It's a bit warped and upside down. But in terms of family taking some kind of action and we're getting to see it publicly on the surface level, that is a form of progression there, as in finally, visually, publicly, something is happening. But at what cost? That's the ultimate question. What cost for the family if it doesn't work out? Emotionally, and any financial or just mindsets, as in what do you do then? And then for the opposites, the defendants, the ones caught up with it all and accused of 7 people and any unnamed individuals too, at what cost for them getting dragged through it? Because, I'm not saying that it will happen, but like if you had JJ Bumpaz and maybe Travis Monson and some others who were either at the party or not, or they were but not on the later days around Noah's death, but they got dragged into the case thoroughly and full on, and it didn't do them much good, or did some kind of psychological harm maybe, or just damaged credibility, who knows? Putting up with it. All for what? To be what? Innocent or not a witness? And it's like, oh. And yet people went out the way to drag those people through the mud to cause confusion for other people online as well. And at what cost and what good? What was the reward to loss ratio? There was more loss than reward, wasn't there? So how will it apply this time round with this civil lawsuit? Will it end good for people, most, or will it end badly for either side? Time will tell. Hopefully you found the video somewhat interesting. If you want to hit the thumbs up, share the video, that'd be much appreciated. My name is Warlight Ref. Join me next time as we continue on, either with articles, map analysis, or maybe catching up with Caden Pressey and Never Seen Before text conversations. That's it for now. Goodbye.